everyone. Ced Dockery here in studio with the newest council member of Peoria, Illinois, the Honorable Andre Allen.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Glad to
be here, man. Beautiful studio.
Thank you. Thank you. It was expensive.
It looks like it was expensive. It's hard to get lumber these days, so supply chain issues. So you got it.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
So I invited you here for a few reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Right. One, it being February,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to discuss some of the things we find interesting in Black history.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Also, you just happen to be a part of Black history in Peoria.
Yeah.
Right. So I would like to, delve into that and see how you feel about it.
Yeah.
And I would really like to know how comfortable this young man is sitting around that horseshoe.
Mm-hmm.
So to get started, let's tell everyone who you are, where you're from,
Yeah.
and how you got where you are.
Sure. So Andre Allen, Peoria native. Graduated from Peoria Public Schools, Richwoods, class of 2007. So I can't believe I've been out of high school 15 years now. Time is truly flying.
Yeah.
I was always someone growing up that was always involved, and I think that's how I really got civically engaged. I think about when I was in middle school at Sterling Middle School, I was in our student council. In my 8th grade year, I was our co-president. Me and my friend Mary Willis, she's been married now. I was about to call her by her maiden name, but we were co-student presidents, and we were involved in like the Key Club and stuff like that too.
Right.
And then I remained a little bit involved in high school. I knew I wanted to go to college, after high school. And so, I will say going to Richwoods exposed me to that. A lot of the parents of friends who houses I would go to, I would be like, wow, how y'all get all this? You know what I mean?
Right.
Because my folks, we just, we rented a nice little home, and my parents did the best they could to provide for me and my brothers and stuff. So that provided that access going to Richwoods. And I would talk to my friends, and their parents would always say, the common denominators who went to college.
Right.
Who went to college to do this.
Right.
And so I knew I was going to college. That was like what I thought I was going to do. So, but that little thing called the ACT had a different story for me. So
Yeah.
took the ACT, got a 16 twice. And so for the audience that don't know, the range on the ACT goes from 1 to 36. So a 16 is not good, Ced. It's not good. And every time you get a free attempt through your school, and after that it's $80 like every time.
Right.
And so when it came to number 3, my mom said, I'm not paying for you to take this test another time. And so I was a little bummed out about it, but I had a good guidance counselor, and and so she told me about a scholarship opportunity that my high school was giving to one graduating male and one graduating female to go to ICC. Mm-hmm. And I applied and I got it. And
Nice.
So essentially I was able to go to ICC for free. With financial aid, I was getting a little refund money. It was all good. So I kept my head down. I went to ICC and worked 2 jobs. I was working at Applebee's and I was working at Kohl's, and I was just grinding, kept my head down. And I was an R8 student at ICC. I was still kind of, it's interesting, like, although you're at like ICC, like you're still kind of hanging out and doing things, and like you're not necessarily focused on the studies how you should be. And so coming out of high school, my dream school was always to go to Illinois State. That's where I wanted to go. Illinois State. So I didn't have the ACT, couldn't go to Illinois State. And when I went to ICC, my last semester before I was supposed to transfer to ISU, messing around, my GPA fell to like a 2.2, and you needed a 2.5 to transfer.
Wow.
So I couldn't get in. And so I was bummed, but I was involved in this organization called TRIO, which is for first generation college graduates or attendees, students from low socioeconomic status. They have TRIO programs all over the country at different higher ed institutions. So I was involved in that ICC, and my guidance counselor said, hey, I know you can't get into ISU, but you can still get into EIU, Eastern Illinois University, Western Illinois University, or Southern Illinois Carbondale, because all you needed after like 40 credit hours was like a 2.0 to get in. And so I applied and got into Eastern Illinois University. And I remember driving down there and passing the cornfields, like, man, what did I get myself into?
Culture shock.
Culture shock for sure. My parents, neither one of them went to college, but I was blessed that they supported me, and that support is key. And so we packed up the van and we all went down there and they unloaded me in my dorm and I transferred to Eastern Illinois University. And so I was there. I got my bachelor's degree, finished that up in 3 years after I transferred from ICC with a bachelor's in communication studies and a minor in business. Okay. And then as I was getting ready to graduate, like every other kid at 22 years old, about to graduate your bachelor's, you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? You know what I mean? Especially like if you get a degree in something that doesn't have like a direct correlation. Like if you get a degree in nursing, what do you become? A nurse.
You're a nurse. You
get a degree in accounting, what do you become? An accountant. You get a degree in communications, it's like, you're like, what can I do with that? Like you can do a lot with it, but
a wide open field.
And it's kind of overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so I went to a career fair and I remember just being defeated because I'm like, I don't know what to do. But when I was in undergrad, I was still involved. And so I was president of our Black Student Union. I was involved in our student government. I pledged to a fraternity and I was doing these different things. And my boss at the time, I had an internship in our Office of Minority Affairs because I was technically a student leader, with my leadership positions. And she said, hey, I'm hiring graduate assistants to be academic advisors in our Gateway program, which is an alternative admissions program for the university for students who don't have the ACT, but they have the GPA or vice versa. Mm-hmm. They get in this Gateway program where they have to do certain things, study tables, meet with their weekly advisor, attend workshops, but it's an opportunity for them to get into the university. She said, I think you'd be great for this. You're first generation college graduate now. These students are just like you. You would be perfect for this. And I said, okay, so I applied for it, got it. And I'm like, wow, okay. She was like, yeah, so what are you going to study? I was like, I didn't even think about that. I'm a guy who's not supposed to be here. And now you're about to pay for me to get a free master's. So I've always loved sports. And so I applied to our sports management program at EIU and I got in. And so I was in grad school for 2 years and I was working as an academic advisor. And then I was, doing my sports management stuff. And so I did like a couple of internships, one in our development for the athletic department. So I was the guy shooting T-shirts out of the game, and setting up the president's tents for the donors and doing all that was fun. And then I was doing some athletic academic advising with like our football team and the soccer players and baseball players. And that was cool too. And so I'm getting ready to graduate. And, at that time, me and my wife, now fiance at the time, we were getting real serious and things. And so I'm like, okay, what's the next step? What am I going to do? And I had a mentor tell me, he said, Andre, he said, your experience is what's going to take you into your career. And what's your experience been? And I said, I was looking at I made my little resume and I'm like, well, I've been doing this academic advisor thing for about 2 years. And so he was like, you probably should start looking at advising jobs. Sports jobs is fine, but you've done a couple internships, like they gonna bite off of this. Mm-hmm. And so I applied to a position at Illinois State, which is ironic. The school I couldn't get into twice. Yeah. I applied to a job there. My boss at EIU, her brother was on the search committee. The rest is history. So I graduated from Eastern Illinois with my master's May 10th of 2014, started at Illinois State May 15th of 2014. So we moved to Normal, Illinois, and we were there. So I was working at Illinois, I was working at ISU, and my wife, she had got on in housing, and so we were living on campus, and we were doing that. We were doing that for about a couple of years. And something kept pulling me back to Peoria. Like, even though I was only 40 minutes away, my parents are here, my brothers are here, and I wanted to get back. I'm seeing the different things on Facebook, and, Peoria is one of the worst places for African Americans, and, you see this gun violence and all this and all that. And I'm not a Twitter warrior guy. I'm like, you know what, I want to get to action. And so I was like, I need to get back. And so I started slowly figure out ways to kind of drive over and maybe speak to some kids and things of that nature. And in 2016, an opportunity presented itself for me to move back to Peoria. I took a position at Methodist College. And so it was a great career move to come back over to Peoria, further my higher education career. But ultimately, I was able to get back to Peoria. And so I've still been at Methodist since 2016 in a variety of different roles. I'm currently our director of student affairs. So I'm over everything from student housing, academic advising, the testing center, the library, counseling, Title IX, code of conduct. I mean, the whole gamut. I'm our chief student affairs officer. So I have all that underneath my purview.
Wow. That's some work.
Yeah, it is some work. It is some work. And that's great. And I love higher education in that space because although it's not a true equalizer, but it helps. You know what I mean? Because I would not be sitting in front of you right now if I did not, get a college education. And so while I'm in Peoria, though, the beauty of it, though, is I'm working, I'm in a good place in my career, but I'm able now to correlate my career with my community service. So I immediately just try to start getting involved. And I was blessed. People was like, they love my energy, and they be like, hey, you want to join this board? Or hey, you want to join this committee? Hey, we're going to have a discussion. We want you to be a part of this. We want you to be on this panel, because I was able to give a different perspective, because I was from Peoria. I was somebody that moved away,
Right.
Not to be cocky. I didn't have to come back, but I wanted to come back, to raise my own family here. And so from 2016 to 2019, we're sitting on different boards. In fall of 2018, I got 40 Under 40 Peoria Magazine, which was a great opportunity. And so I had a decent amount of name recognition. And then I was noticing that there was going to be 5 open council seats on the Peoria City Council. So for those who don't know, the way our council is set up, it's the mayor, and then there's 10 seats, 5 at large, 5 district. And the difference is, in the at large election, anybody in the city of Peoria can vote for you.
Right.
In the district elections, only those in that district can vote for you.
Right.
And so former Councilman Eric Turner decided not to run. So it ended up being 5 open seats. Mayor Ali had just came off a heartbreaking election in 2017. So I knew she was going to rerun. But I'm like, okay, Mayor Ali's going to get a seat. Okay. I'm like, there's a few incumbents. I'm like, you know what? I could get one of those seats. You know what I'm saying? Just not knowing anything about a campaign. I've never worked on anybody's campaign. I've never really, done much. You know what I mean? I just was somebody who was just passionate and felt like, you know what? I need to be in this space. Like, I need to represent not only African Americans, the millennial voice, someone who really takes Peoria personal. And so we hopped in it. I was so back and forth about hopping in that race. That if you look at the results from the primary election, I was number 14 on the ballot because I turned my petitions in so late. Wow. Because the way your petitions are turned in based off of the timing of you turned them in. And I turned them in like the day before they were due because I kept doubting myself. Because we all have that imposter syndrome. Like, man, I can't do this. And
it's hard to get over.
It's hard. And I'm talking to people. I talked to somebody who I really respect as a mentor in this space. And this person said, that's great, but to run a citywide campaign, you're going to need $30,000. I said, okay. So I'm like, all right, at the time, I'm probably like, okay. I'm like, all right, okay. There's no way we're going to break that. But like, you know what? We can do this. And so I got on the ballot, and they published everybody's names for running. It's 17 people going for 5 seats. 5 seats. So I'm like, okay, wow. 2 people got their petitions challenged, so they dropped us down to 15. But because there was over 10, we had to have a primary election. So primary election, we grinded, and I met with my campaign team, and trust me, I tried to drop out like a couple times because I was getting overwhelmed. I mean, I'm seeing my competition, they pulling up with billboards and yard signs and this and that. And we sat down with the team, and it was one Sunday, I was ready to drop out. And I said, look, y'all, it's been real, but this ain't. this ain't us, man. We go drop out, and we just go. And I was like, no, you're not dropping out. We're gonna worry about what we can control. So what we said was, we gonna be the biggest. We gonna be the most notable candidate on social media. We gonna utilize the platforms that they're not. We can't pay for the commercials, but we can pay for Facebook ads. This is before things that were on Facebook with the 2020 election and stuff. And so we just went hard. And, we shocked the world in that primary election. We got some good endorsements, the Journal Star and a few others. And we came in 5th in that primary election.
That's dope.
Number 14 on the ballot.
That's dope.
So you had to really look for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, where Alan at? Oh, there he is. Came in 5th. And I remember the results was coming in. We was at Texas Roadhouse eating. And I'm so green to this. I didn't know that you get the results as the night go. I'm just thinking like the next morning we're going to wake up, they're going to tell us. So people hitting me up. Trey, you in 5th, bro. You in 5th. And so we came in 5th in that primary election. And I was like, wow, we could really do this. And so like after that, we really showed people like, not to be cocky or anything, but who Andre Allen was.
Right.
Because he came in 5th out of 15 people, and he was number 14 on the ballot, and he spent probably a couple grand doing it. You know what I'm saying? But we just had hustle, energy, and we just worked. So we go into the general election, and it's 10 of us, very competitive. Get a few more endorsements. We, now people see who we are, so we get some campaign donations and everything too. So election night come April 2nd. I throw a little election party. The news there, and the Journal Star there, because they thinking like, hey, he might pull the upset. You know what I'm saying? So results coming in all night. So I start off in 5th, go to 3rd, drop to 6th, go to 5th. It's crazy. So it's me and a councilman that I'm serving with now. We going back and forth. And I'm like, okay, wow. I'm in 5th. And the final results drop. And I'm in 6th by 403 votes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we lost. But you never lose, you always learn. But it was a humble couple of days after that, though. It definitely was. It was a humble couple of days after that. But, I was humble. I congratulated everybody because I knew I deserved to be in this space. And I knew that we worked to be in this space. So, after 2 days of feeling sorry for myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to worry about what I can control. I know I want to run again. I just didn't know when. I didn't know if I was going to run for my district in 2021, if I was going to wait again and run at large in 25. And so I was like, hey, time going to go past regardless. So one of my bucket lists was to get into a doctoral program. You get my careers in higher education. So I applied to Illinois State and been working on my PhD since then. And so mind you, this is the same school I couldn't get in.
Wait, we're about to call you doctor here.
Yeah, I'll be done in spring 24. I'm a third year doctoral student right now.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it's crazy, and I share that because again, it's the same school that I couldn't get in that I've now worked for, and now I'm a third year doctoral student. So life has a weird way of smiling. So I started working on that. At the time, Mayor Artis had reached out to me. He was the mayor at the time. He was like, hey, I think you should still stay involved. And he's like, hey, you should join we got an appointment available on the advisory committee on police and community relations. And so I got on that. Then Councilwoman Ali was the council liaison to that. And so she kind of helped mentor me with that. Ultimately, I became the chair of that committee and kind of helped finalize some process and stuff too. So I'm still staying active. I'm still staying involved because I always believed in a mantra. You got to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready. Yes, I mean, it's
one of the biggest nuggets out there.
It's stay ready so you got to get ready because you just don't know.
Right.
And so fast forward, we get to fall 21, and I live in the 4th district, and our councilman at the time, Councilman Montalago, announces that he's running for mayor. And as you know, that was a very competitive mayoral race with him and Councilman Rodrigo and now Mayor Ali, obviously, and a few others. That was, and I respect everybody that hops in that space because campaigning is tough. So shout out to all of them, Shama St. Louis and Andy Diaz and just put Corey Thomas. I mean, you just really just getting out there. I mean, it takes a lot, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I throw my name out there. I'm like, all right, you know what? Hey, we're going to stay ready so we got to get ready. So I do a press conference in my driveway and we do it. 2 other candidates, they hop in as well too. So we have a primary election. And so we're grinding, you know what I mean? We're grinding, putting in some work, doing our thing. We got a little more name recognition now. So fundraising is just a little easier now, Yeah. So, we doing, they got a couple billboards, they got some little yard signs, we got some little mailers, we doing our thing.
I actually remember seeing you out on University one night. It was University and
by Richwoods High School?
No, not even that far out. Right, King's Corner. If we're going to steal that phrase, King's Corner. Forest Hill.
Oh yeah.
University in Forest Hill. Okay. I pulled over and I hollered at you.
Okay.
Right, you had just stuck your sign in the ground.
Yep.
I said, you're gonna do it.
Because that's the thing.
You're gonna do it.
I was the candidate and the campaign manager, and I had a dedicated team though. Shout out to my team Allen, Cece, and Kim, and Elger, and Ross, and Andre Leverett, and Lamar Anderson, and Moses. I had a good team, and Allison, but we was small, and I paid them in love. I paid them in love. So we get to the primary election, and I come in second in the primary. I'll be transparent with you, Ced. I was shocked that I came in second in that primary. I was shocked. But I understood though. And I said, all right, you know what? Well, and I mean, we came in second. We had like 180 votes. So that's kind of small in politics. So I'm like, all right, well, you know what? General election, we gonna ramp it up. You know what I'm saying? We already, you know, we got to do some commercials. We about to unleash the beast. You know what I'm saying? That wasn't gonna happen. And then so like a week after the primary election, and I'm getting ready to gear up and get out here, and my opponent, who had applied in the fall for a appointment with the state of Illinois. It was a commission on human rights and disabilities, I believe is the name. And he got the appointment. And I'm happy for him. I went to high school. So shout out to Stevie Corey. Went to high school with him. He's overcame so much. I mean, this guy's got a law degree. He's a practicing lawyer. And his platform, he wants to do things for people with disabilities. And so that was a beautiful space for him to get in. And I definitely commend him. And I know he's going to do great work in that space. So he got that appointment. Well, part of the appointment, though, is he couldn't run for elected office. Right. So he had to withdraw. And so he withdrew. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, God, what you doing now? What are you doing now, God? What are you doing right now? But that's why I always tell people, though, if you remain humble, you put the work in. If it's meant to be, God will make it meant to be. Indeed. He really, without a question. And so he ultimately had to withdraw, and I was the only one on the ballot. And so it's funny that happened in like late February, early March. So the election went until like April 6th. And I said, you know what? I said, we still gonna grind. We ain't gonna spend as much money, but we gonna grind. And it's funny, we were still knocking on doors and everything too. You know, instead of selling 5,000 mailers, we like, you know what? Because the thing about it is, contrary to what, you know, some people might say, you know, I had a lot of things prepared for that general election. So I'm like, I got to use some of this stuff, you know what I'm saying? So we knocking on doors still, and people like, man, I see you out here. You still campaigning, bro? I'm like, yeah, man, this is serious. You know what I mean? And, you know, we did well on election night. Although we ran unopposed, I ended up with 3387, so 3,387 votes, which was more than what Councilman Montalago and his opponent had in 2017 combined. And then when I looked at my numbers of the eligible voters that voted in that election in District 4, 80% of people still voted for me. That's dope. Yeah. So yeah, 20% of people was like, you know what? I'm straight. That's not my guy. Hey, that's cool. But the other 80 say, you know what? That's my dude. Whether I voted for him in the primary or not, I'm riding with him. And that made me feel great. You know what I mean? Because, you know, part of it is you want to fight. You know what I'm saying? You want to get in the ring. Yeah. But also, too, as many of my mentors, some of this said, man, you've been put the work in. Like this didn't start in fall 21. This started in, Sterling. Yeah, this started at Sterling. You know what I mean? This started, and I remember when I was at Sterling, our advisor, my 8th grade geography teacher, Miss Cook she said, Andre, one day you're going to end up in the White House. And when you do, I want to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. So if you're watching this, Miss Cook, I got you. If we make it there, if we make it there, Miss Cook, I got you. You can stay in the Lincoln bedroom. We get you some good sheets.
That's a promise.
That is a promise. And so I just remember I still end up throwing an election night party just to celebrate this, because this was years in the making. So many people who supported, whether you gave $5, $500, whether you just called me to give me some encouragement, whether you know, just so much, and be able to share that moment, you know, with my brothers, my parents, you know, my homies from the crib, you know what I'm saying? They like, man, my guy I grew up with is on the city council. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, sometimes, like, it really do feel surreal. Like, it's kind of finally settling a little bit. But I mean, you fast forward to May, we have the swearing in ceremony. You know, I'm able to, it's COVID, so I had to kind of limit my guests. So I was able to bring my parents, my wife, my 2 brothers, and then my oldest is 7. And so to be able to share that with her, you know what I mean? I got a picture with her next to my name plaque and all this type of stuff. So when we talk about standing on the ancestors, the things that we're doing, and then also now what I'm sharing with her and what she can see, you know what I mean? And it's been a beautiful ride, man. It's been a beautiful ride. Like, I honestly, as cliche as it sounds, I feel like I'm at my purpose. I really enjoy it. You know, it get heated around that horseshoe. Oh yeah. It get heated, but I'm where I'm supposed to be, bro.
I believe it.
I'm where I'm supposed to be. God, I'm blessed, and that's why I don't take it for granted.
Right.
I don't take it for granted. I try to do my best to engage with my constituents and get back to people. You know, and it's not easy, you know, because again, I do have a full-time job.
Mhm.
I've got a wife, I've got 3 kids, and I'm in a doctoral program. So I've got a lot going on, but this is a blessed space to be in.
Okay. Rewinding through some of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
I asked Robbie Chris this question a few weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
Is there value in humility?
Yes.
Why is that?
Yes. It's value in humility because at the end of the day, people respect humility over ego. Because there was times throughout my early political journey and trying to get into this, you know, one thing about politics is before you ever run for something, you cool.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, it's all good. But when you cross that, you are a candidate. It's like, oh, you was cool, but you ain't political
like
cool. You ain't political cool. Or like certain people where they've encouraged you to run, and then now you see them like endorsing the other person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in politics is very tricky because you don't really. And my thing is too, is I try to just, you know, I get the spirit from my mom. I just want everybody to like me. I'm trying to be nice. You know, and politics is cutthroat sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, I've always been humble, but Mayor Ali, when I lost in 2019, and I told you it was by 400 votes. Now, what people also need to realize too, in cumulative voting, everybody gets 5 votes. So if you lose by 400 votes, that's 80 people if they all give you all 5 of their votes, just saying. And I had a couple people hit me up like, man, bro, like you should challenge this because like you can technically challenge election results.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's a drawn out process, but you can challenge it. And I remember talking to Mayor Ali at the time. She had just came off her landslide victory. And she said, Andre, be a good loser. She said, Andre, in 2017, I was up 3 votes election night. Mail-in ballots came in. I lost by 1 vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't challenge it.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't challenge it. She said I was a good loser. She said, people will remember how you handle this.
Yeah.
If I did not handle that loss with humility, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Value.
And I'm blessed to have mentors in my life like Mayor Ali and so many others.
Right.
I continue to have a level of humility because it's very easy when you think you've achieved some things, but I am always relying on my mentors and relying on people to tell me things that I need to hear and not the things I want to hear.
That's the most important part,
Mm-hmm.
right? Keep your level headed. Keep your eyes on the road.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to, never mind. Had to talk with my daughter today about
Mm-hmm.
that. The road is straight.
Yeah.
It's written.
Yeah.
The road is straight. That crooked,
Mm-hmm.
no. You don't end up where you're going.
Yeah.
Turning.
Keep the main thing the main thing.
Mm. So, okay. Something else you mentioned here.
Mm-hmm.
About the violence in the city,
Mm-hmm.
right? And how black folks are participating, right? The buy-in. Right, the buy-in. When that report came out from the Washington Post,
Mm-hmm.
saying that Peoria was the worst city in the country,
Yeah.
for black people,
Mm-hmm.
did you buy that?
I mean, there's truth to everything. I mean, you got to look at the statistics
Mm-hmm.
and look at the things that were outlined in the article. They
Mm-hmm.
looked at unemployment rates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pre-COVID, the African American unemployment rate in Peoria was 18%.
Oh.
The national average pre-COVID was 6%, which was a record low.
Mm-hmm.
So nationally, we were doing well.
Right.
But here in Peoria, we were 3 times the national average unemployment. They looked at home ownership.
Mm-hmm.
They looked at average household medium incomes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at that data and you compare it with other cities that are thriving, we have been behind the 8 ball.
Okay.
And so it's hard to argue with the data because at the end of the day, Peoria has economic issues. there's always going to be people who are racist or bigots. I mean, that's just you know that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think Peoria has more social economic issues though,
Mm-hmm.
to where we have not invested in areas and demographics in our city over time, and now we're seeing the dividends from that disinvestment.
Mm-hmm.
Crime,
Yeah.
violence. We're in redistricting right now, and so we'll be voting on a new map. And the tough part about it is when you look at how we've got to do the maps, because the goal is to have equal representation in each district. So you want to have Peoria, based off the census, is like 113,000 people. So you want to have about 23,000 people in each district.
Right.
Okay. Well, there's been a mass exodus from the first district.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't been invested in. Some of the stats that I talked about, medium household income, home ownership, violence, crime. So people have left.
Right.
Same thing you can argue with in the third district when you look at the East Bluff, in certain parts of the second district as well too. When you talk about being on the hill,
Mm-hmm.
and so in order for those districts to gain census numbers, they've got to take population from the fourth and the fifth district.
Yeah.
So. And it's tough because there's neighborhoods that I value, that I really like in my district, that I'm going to lose because those other districts, they don't have the mass.
Right.
And so all this is correlated. When people feel safe, when people are thriving economically, when people are gainfully employed, when people have good schools to send their children, neighborhoods are great.
Yeah.
Quality of life is good.
Yeah.
But when you don't have those things, because I think that your average person doesn't wake up and says, hey, I need to do something bad today. But I think your average person says, hey, I need to put food on the table, and I'm going to figure out how to do that, whether that's legally or illegally.
With the capabilities that a less than educated person would have.
I'm going to do what I know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do what I know. Because if I don't know nothing more than this cul-de-sac or this block, and so that's tough. You and I, we've been blessed. We've been exposed to things. And so you were exposed to something that made you dream this.
Mm-hmm.
I've been fortunate to have mentors and people pour into me to make me feel like, wow, like maybe I could be a politician. Maybe I could be a first generation college graduate. Maybe I could be a college administrator. But some people don't have that.
Right.
Like you talked about earlier, some people are just getting the cars at the bottom of the debt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like someone's just saying, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's see what you can make out of that.
Yeah. And so it pains me that we were listed as the worst place for African Americans, and we fell down the list, but I don't want us on the list at all.
Period.
Because that's not billboard material for any city.
Billboard material.
It's not billboard material, because you got to think about it. If we are looking to expand our tax base, and retain people, you can't have that. So if you're trying to recruit the professional, the entrepreneur, and they Google Peoria, Illinois, and that pops up, and they look like you and me, I think I might be looking at Charlotte.
Right. Yeah, Charlotte's kind of nice.
I think I might be looking at the A. Oh, hey, you know what? Nashville's up and coming. You know what I mean? And so you're going to look at other opportunities if you feel that you can't go somewhere and thrive. That's human nature. Why would you go somewhere where you can't grow? Because if you're not growing, you're dying.
Indeed. Indeed.
But we can turn it around, though. And I mean, we have the leadership in place right now. We've got a lot of great things going on in our city. We just got to keep priming the pump, engaging those, investing in those who have felt left behind, and keep at it.
I don't think this generation of the horseshoe is going to be a problem.
We have probably the most diverse horseshoe in the history of Peoria, right?
Yeah, I don't think the horseshoe is going to be the problem. I don't think so. And frankly, I don't think the business leadership is going to be the problem.
Yeah.
Right? From the conversations I've had since I've been downtown.
Yeah, you downtown,
right? Yeah. And including the last 3 years, right? I really started coming out of my little shell in 2018.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't see much drama in the leadership.
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's more
We're taking down a lot of the silos.
right.
Taking down a lot of the silos,
Right.
which is good in a town this size. I always say this about Peoria. Peoria doesn't have the level of bureaucracy that exists in big cities. So if you want to talk to the mayor, if you want to talk to the president of the park board, if you want to talk to the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, like you can realistically get to these people. It might not be within like the day, but like you could realistically get to these people.
You know what? Someone said it exactly what you just said. Someone said it to me about a year ago. Peoria is probably the only city of this size and larger where you can talk to an Andre Allen, right, or a Rita Ali,
Yeah.
or Oberhelm, or any of these leaders,
Yeah.
just by asking for a recommendation,
Yeah.
right, or just walking into the store, going to a restaurant, have a full get it off your chest if you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I don't know why we have the problem we have, other than
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
lack of hope.
Yeah.
Right, we witnessed the crumble.
Yeah. We have.
Right, we were last to get back to the table after the collapse in the 80s. Right, we were the last to get back to the table. 07, 08, 09.
Yeah.
Right, I think at this juncture, all right, if you're comparing economies, I think at this juncture in our economy, with this swoon that we're in, I think as a city, everyone is better prepared
I think so.
to knock down the dams and let the water just rise. You know what I mean? And what I'm seeing, when I go and talk to these folks, it's not, oh, it's him. It's Ced. We didn't know you were coming. Right? And then the next person that looks like me comes through the door. Where have you been? We haven't seen you in ages. So the bricks weren't necessarily what the perception was from that reporting. Right? The reporting gave that slant.
Yeah.
Right? That political slant.
It painted the social economic issue of Peoria. You know, and again, that's what it always comes back to is economics.
Right. So, knowing this, do you feel that we have the partners necessary for this city to keep booming?
We've got some players in the mix, but we need some free agent acquisitions. So we are a playoff team. We ain't in the lottery. We ain't in the lottery.
That's a good deal.
So Peoria is not in the lottery.
That's a good deal.
But you're always trying to get better. You know what I mean? So you look at, we're fortunate where we have a thriving healthcare, district with Unity Point Health and OSF and, some of the things. You got the med school right across the street, UE Comp. And, so we have this great medical industry in Peoria, which is wonderful. Believe it or not, manufacturing is still a huge employer in Peoria. I know Caterpillar relocated their headquarters to Deerfield, but they still have a huge imprint here in Peoria. You got Komatsu, you've got some others that are still doing their thing here in Peoria, which is great. We've got a lot of non-for-profits, whether that is educational entities, Peoria Public Schools that employs a lot of people, Bradley University, Illinois Central College. I work at Methodist College. And then Peoria has a lot of non-for-profits. Everybody from the Children's Home to Ronald McDonald House. It has a lot of non-for-profits. But when I talk about those acquisitions, we've got to look at what private companies that we can either homegrown here in Peoria. So it might not be where we can land, a Mr. Amazon fulfillment center. That might not happen. But we might have Mr. Peoria that needs that seed money because they have the infrastructure. Because one thing about here in Peoria, we've got the bones to be great.
Oh, yeah.
You look at our downtown, our river, you go Pioneer Park, all those industrial buildings, we've got the bones to be great. So all we need is a few free agent acquisitions and we ready.
And we got scouts out there. Wow, I love the invitations I get.
Yeah.
Right? You go to the EDC events and there was a man. We went to we went to this event at Max down on the riverfront.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right?
Shout out to Ken Allison.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest conversations I've had.
He's a good dude. He's a good dude.
Well, last year. It was Politics and Pints.
Okay.
And Marita was answering some questions.
Yep.
I felt like some of those questions were, like, should have been had in the parking lot or something. But one of these young men whose job it is to attract new talent in business to the city said, hey, I've got these two guys from South America. They need to hear from you why they should move their manufacturing from Venezuela to Peoria, Illinois. I had never met the mayor before that night. And these two gentlemen were sitting next to me. And we had talked a little, all right? And the mayor stopped talking to this guy, looked at these guys, left the lectern, and got right here. And for about 7 minutes, just poured it out. And I was like, the right one won. You know what I mean?
You need that champion.
And we have the right people out here scouring the world, looking for the talent that's going to help us build this thing back into the dynamo that it was.
The investments are there.
Oh yeah.
It's not a lack of effort by no means, and that's the thing that keeps me optimistic about Peoria. Is it's not a lack of effort. You have people who are still pouring in time, energy, talent, and treasure into this city, and so we gonna get the ship.
I believe that.
We gonna get the ship.
I think so.
We gonna get the ship
so. Pretty soon too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say 10 years. But I already told you what my goals are. Though.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're golden there. So stepping back into Black History Month, right? You do realize that there are going to be children who read books and hear stories about, Dr. Andre Allen. What part of your story is going to be their inspiration?
You know what? That was something I was talking to my wife to about a couple weeks ago, and I was thinking about it. Because, you get the archives, and I was thinking, I was like, wow, my name will forever be in the archives of Peoria. Because the votes are, there's times where we look at votes from 20 years ago, and so you see who was on the council then, and they are forever in the records of Peoria history. And so,
certified.
Yeah, and so to your point, it's humbling, it's a blessing, and anytime that I get an opportunity to talk to young kids, I do that. I spoke to some kids at Lincoln Middle School about a month and a half ago, and one of their kids emailed me, I think with the help of his teacher, because the email was pretty legit. And I was like, bro, you in 6th grade. But he was like, it was a legit email. I was like, my college students ain't even emailing like this.
Right.
And he said, hey, I want to do my Black History Month project on you. And I need some information, and can you share a baby picture and a now picture and all this and a bio and all this. And so, and it was a point where he thought I was doing something for him, but he was doing something for me.
Made you feel good.
Because I was, at that time, I was kind of wrestling with some stuff, you know what I mean? And that's when I was telling you earlier about the difference between your job and your assignment. And that reaffirmed that I am in my assignment.
Yeah.
I'm in my assignment, and it's so important that I understand that that I am, again, like I said earlier, standing on my ancestors' shoulders. I think of 60 years ago, we couldn't even vote in this country.
So short.
Couldn't even vote in this country. So that's my grandparents' generation. Couldn't even vote, and then 60 years later, their grandson is an elected official in a decent sized metropolitan city. You know what I mean? And so I don't take that for granted, and that's why I try to move and behave the way I do. There's times where I want to, because I'm 32, so I got a little, I'm getting up there, but I got a little, a little energy still in me. And, but I got to behave a little differently now because I got to make those kids proud. You know what I mean? And I got to walk so others can run behind me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I always believe in lifting as I climb. That's why it's very important. And so there's times now where I get reached out to, and especially with technology now, Zoom, Teams, I might not have the time to meet with you physically, but we could chop it up on Zoom for 30 minutes.
Right.
How'd you do this? How you get on the ballot? How many signatures you need? How do you file a statement of economic interest so you can raise campaign funds? How do you do this or that? And I give them the game.
Yeah.
I give them the game because that's what I needed. And I had people that did give me that, and I appreciated that. And now I'm like, I can be that for others. You know what I mean? And that's so important. So, you know, I know that, you know, I am part of Black Peoria History. And it's kind of weird to say that because it sounds so like
so alien.
Yeah, right? It's so alien, so like, and it's so monumental because like when I think of like black figures in Peoria history, I think of Richard Pryor,
right?
You know, and you know, you think of you know, Mayor Ali, and you know, you think of Jahan Gordon Booth, and you know, you think about, you know, the great basketball legacy that we've had here in Peoria, and some of the Howard Nathans and Sean Livingstons, and you know, Chris Reynolds doing this thing as the VP of athletics at Bradley, and some of these great people. And so, again, that's when that humility comes in, you know what I mean? But sometimes you do have to step back and reflect and say, you know what? Yeah, you know, we are, you know, when you think about being, I'm not the youngest to ever be on the council, but I'm the youngest currently elected on the council. I'm pretty confident I'm the first African-American to represent District 4. I
don't think that's too bad of an assumption there.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not a betting man, but I think I am, which is great because I think District 4 is probably, as it's currently constructed, the most diverse district in the city.
Oh yeah.
You know, we think about the demographics that it covers in that space, and that's why I love representing that district. And so it's again, it sounds weird, but I don't take it for granted. And my job is again to walk so others can come behind me, because I don't want to be the first, you know, or I don't want to be the last, excuse me. You know, I don't want to be the last to be in this space. I would love to look back in 15, 20 years I walk into the council and I'm like, man, this look like Atlanta. Like, what we got going on? You know, because others feel empowered, because at the end of the day, how we really take Peoria to that championship contender is we got to be engaged. If you're not at the table, how you gonna know what's on the menu? And if you're not at the table, you're gonna probably find out you're on the menu. And so we've got to be engaged. We've got to vote in every election. You know, you might not want to be a candidate. That's fine. And trust me, I get why you don't want to be the candidate, because you're always getting scrutinized. You got to be careful. And it affects your family as well, too. And that's something that I didn't realize as well, too, of the effect that it was going to have on my wife and my kids and my parents and my brothers. And you know what I mean? But maybe you want to work on somebody's campaign. Maybe there's an issue that you bring forth that you want a candidate to lobby for. Right. You know what I mean? There's always something, because one of my buddies was telling me, he was like, yeah, bro, I would vote for you, bro, but I don't do politics. I said, well, politics does you. Turn on that faucet, that water, that's legislation. You wear a seatbelt every day when you drive, right? It's legislation. People can't smoke in Applebee's in the booth no more, right? That's legislation. Right. People, you don't speed, do you? It's legislation. You know what I mean? Minimum wage went up. It's legislation. Right. Marijuana got legalized. That's legislation, excuse me. So politics is ingrained in every fabric of our society. But those who have been in power for so long don't want you to be engaged, because it's such a powerful tool to get things done. And if me and you are going for a position, let's say me and you are both running for city council, a seat, and you know, there's two voters right there, and so we're both trying to get their votes. Okay. If one person says, you know what, I'm good, I'm not voting anyway, you're like, all right, cool, I ain't got to worry about person. I'm going to worry about you. But if you know they're both are eligible voters, you're going to put resources into both of them. You're going to sit down and want to listen to what they got to say. You want to hear their issues. If you know that John Doe ain't voting anyway, And usually John Doe, and it's not necessarily John Doe's fault, but he possibly is part of an underrepresented community, a community that's been marginalized, who feels that the system does not work for him because the system was never designed for him. And so he might be jaded and doesn't want to be a part of this. But at the end of the day, though, you gotta, and that's why as elected officials and community leaders, whether you are elected official, business, anything, we gotta continue to keep putting hope into people.
Speaking to that, this last campaign,
Mm-hmm.
I was out door knocking
Mm-hmm.
and passing out flyers for my candidate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I get to this one door on Livingston,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy, he tells me, I'm not voting. I've never voted.
Yeah.
You know, that's for them. That's not us. You know what I mean? And the ones that are there that look like us, they're not us, and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And so I just asked a few questions about his lifestyle.
Yeah.
All right. How's your life? What's going on? Oh, your kids. Man, I appreciate how you just corrected your daughter.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Looks like that's a nice car. He's like, man, that car messed up, blah, 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 blah. Really? Tell me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me what he was experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
I ran into the vehicle, pull out my scanner, plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
Brother, look, all you have to do is pull this fuse, put a new fuse in, you're good to go. Right? Left it at that. After the election, I saw this guy at Kroger's. And the man said, bro, I ain't never voted before I met you. But I voted for your candidate. Thank you. Thank you. So the engagement part is not necessarily going to have to be you, the candidate, that tells them, you know, that in sales they talk about those uneducated responses and how to overturn them.
Yeah.
You have to defeat that lack of education.
Yeah.
Right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the candidate, but if you got to fire a team.
Yeah, if you got to fire a team, and
if you got a team.
it's very important. And I mean, that's when, you know, you can't rely on just the mailers and the social media and the billboards. All that is cool, but you got to knock on that door.
Knock on the door.
Knock on that door, see what's going on. Hey, how you doing? There were so many people who were like, man, nobody's never knocked on my door before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's never knocked on my door before.
You hear that canvassing.
Yeah, you're like, wow. Like, hey, you know, and, you know, you sit down, you talk to people, you know what I mean? You may get a vote out of it, you may not, but at least they know that you came around.
And the next thing is, the more you talk to these folks, even if whether they're transient or intransitive, right? What you put between their ears comes out of their mouths to someone else.
Oh, he came around. He was his team came around. You know, that's so important, and that's how you give hope, because people want to be engaged, but no one's going to be engaged in something that they feel isn't you know, worth to them. You know, don't invite me to the party now. You know what I mean? Like
I already cut the cake.
Yeah, man. Like, you already don't play my favorite song. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you ain't even asked me what I'm wearing. You know? Like, no, like, see me as a human, engage with me, and I think that's the beauty of politics. And you got to just make the issues relatable. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. I had a guy who, you know, again, was not a huge political guy, but I knew that he liked to participate in recreational marijuana. And this is right when Illinois approved recreational marijuana, and so at the state level. And I said, hey, you know, the city councils of these local municipalities, although the state did approve it, they're going to decide if it's going to be able to be sold in their state or in their city. So, I mean, we've got municipalities around us that are dry because their council said, no, we straight, we don't care what the state doing, we dry. So if you don't vote for candidates that are progressive in their thinking, to say, hey, this is going to be legal and we need to figure out a way now to manage this because people are going to go over across the river to get it anyway. So we might as well manage it and monetize off of it. So that way we can invest, and it has that equity component where we can invest in disenfranchised neighborhoods. We can pour it into our roads. We can create jobs off of this. But if you don't have the candidates that support it or the leadership, you still going to jail for a joint. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
I'm convinced. I want to smoke in the streets. That's what they tell us.
So, and again, you just got to find the issues that matter. At the district level, being a district councilman, you get the potholes, you get the speeding, you get the tall grass. My neighbor won't take in his trash cans. You get it all. You get it all at that level, because for some people, that stuff matters to them.
Right.
And that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna call code enforcement. Don't worry about it. And when it gets done, and one thing I always tell people, you let me know when it gets done. And we have a very great receptive staff. I have great relationships with all of them. That's very important too. You gotta have a good relationship with staff. I always say, let me know when it gets done. And they, hey Andre, they out here. Thanks, man. You move quick. That's what people want. They want that responsiveness, especially at the local level.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's the only way you're gonna get it is to have access.
Yep.
Again, that one of those gems about this place is access.
Access. Yeah.
You can't do that in Chicago.
No. You're going to get the secretary.
Yeah, the secretary's assistant.
Yeah. Voicemail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that working out in any other city. I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't confirm or deny how other municipalities are working, but I definitely just pride myself in that space of, trying to be accessible to my constituents. I'm in the social media space. I email, city cell phone, text, call. I'm trying to be in whatever spaces. I host a monthly coffee every month, and now I have a Zoom account now, and so I did my virtual meeting last Monday, and that actually was attended. It was like 25 people on there.
Nice.
Hopped on there as well too. So now it's you just meeting people in different spaces. You know what I mean? And I bring in different speakers. I had the chief of police, Eric Echeverria, came and spoke, and we had somebody from planning and zoning came in and talked. We have a new dispensary that is on the docket to be voted on here in next week, actually, in my district. So had planning and zoning come and just talk to the people about that process, and kind of brought the anxiety down a little bit on that. So yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it. You bring the information to the people. That's what it's about. Don't let them just having to keep finding it. Like you can really calm a lot of anxiety down if you bring the information to the people, because they want to be engaged.
Indeed. So, if you didn't run and get elected, what would you be doing now?
I would still be a college administrator, and I would still be working on my doctorate, and I would still be involved in the community. And I mean, when I lost in 2019, the one thing that, and it's just because Peoria is personal to me, I stayed at it. I stayed relevant. You know what I mean? Like, that was the thing. Like, it is very tough, and I get it. I see why you would want to go chill for 6 months, because a campaign takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot out of your family. It's an emotional roller coaster. So I see why you would say, nah, I'm gonna just kind of focus on myself right now. But I stayed at it, still stayed on the boards, whether that was the Peoria Promise board, which is the tuition reimbursement tool for Illinois Central College. I'm on the Peoria Public Schools Foundation board, which is a 501c3 entity of Peoria Public Schools. We raise money for classroom grants, school uniforms. We have a Right Now fund. So if a student shows up and it's frigid temperatures and they ain't got a coat, they hit us up, we go get them a coat. So
dope.
Yeah, I'm on the Urban League board. I'm on the Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce board. So really getting tapped in with the business community in that space. And so, I just felt like it was very important. So I would still be doing those things, as opportunities would arise, I would stay engaged, I mean, I think it's just so important. I mean, Peoria's in me. I'm a 309er, man.
And I love that part. I love that part, that you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because whether you got the job this time, your engagement would have mandated it at some point anyway. All right?
It was gonna happen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Your level of engagement, right, would mandate it. Right? Why is he doing this? Why is he doing that? Push.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
That would ideally.
It would have been a great push,
Yeah.
regardless. So congratulations on you having the fortitude to stick it out.
Yeah,
And the team to keep
Yeah, and it
Keep
feels
that board
good.
on
It
your
feels
back.
good to be on the other side. I ain't gonna lie. I see people gearing up for their campaigns right now, and there's a primary in the summer, and then next fall you got like the governor's race and a few others. And I see people circulating their petitions, and I almost get like PTSD from it because I'm like, oh my god, like, we were just doing this last year, like oh no, like so it is so good to be on the other side of it. And re-election isn't until 2025, so it'll be here before you know it. But it's good to like do the job. You know what I mean? It's like when you're campaigning, you're interviewing. And we've been campaigning since late fall 2018, essentially.
Right.
And so that's 3 years. That's a lot of that's a lot of energy, and it's very taxing. And so it's just a blessing, and it's just great to just be in the space now and doing the job. I love showing up to City Hall on that Tuesday, that every other Tuesday.
What is that like?
It's great, man.
What is that? I mean, okay, after the swearing in, after the cake and the champagne.
Yeah. When it gets real.
The first time you walk into City Hall. To sit at your spot on that horseshoe. What was that like? It
was like, wow, we're really here. And the thing about it is so like when you get elected, you have an orientation. And I don't care who you are, you research, you're on the website, you're looking at the budget, all this and all that. When you get the Bible, which what I call it, when you get the nuclear football, you like, wow, okay, like this is heavy. Like and then it's almost like, and again, we all battle the imposter syndrome, and I'm just being transparent with what you said. I was like, wow, okay, all right, Lord, what are we in right now? What are we in? Because this is some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is heavy stuff. And then, people are expecting you to have the answers now. You know what I'm saying? You're in leadership. You have a title. Yeah. You have the answers. Yeah. You have the answers. So, but it's great. I mean, you go into City Hall. I try to go there frequently as much as I can. Again, it's a challenge having a full-time job. So, but we have a conference room where we can use for constituent meetings and things of that nature. Usually what I try to do is when we have council at 6, I usually try to get down there 4:45, 5, so that way I can catch some staff that's still there just to say hi. Right. Just to say, hey, what's going on? Everything good? You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be that guy that the only time you hear from me is when I'm asking you for something. Right. Hey, I got a constituent concern. You know what I mean? So trying to engage with them in that space. But it's cool though. You pull in and you get to park in the little selected parking spots, and they give you a little ID badge so you can buzz in, and so you ain't gotta go through the metal detector, and you greet the city security is always there and friendly and stuff too. And
those guys are dope.
Yeah, those guys are dope. And then I go to the second floor. I put my coat up. And then if there's any last minute things I might need to talk to the city manager about or staff, I usually try to do a little round robin with them. And then you go up there, you enter through the clerk's office. They might have some paperwork that you need to sign, like, hey, we're going to be approving these expenditures tonight. Can we go and get your signature? I check my city mailbox, see who sent me things, because in this space, you're always getting sent stuff. You're always getting invited to stuff. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? It's a lifestyle to maintain, that's for sure. It's not cheap. It's not cheap.
Of course it's not.
It's
you can't
not
wear the same stuff.
And
they cost to get in.
Yeah, and I'm usually buying 2 tickets because I have a wife, so I'm breaking. She got to come to stuff. So we have kind of a package deal. They all want to see me. You know what I'm saying? So
same thing with Maria.
Yeah,
where's Maria?
Yeah, hey, you're a package deal, but it's a blessing though. Yeah. It's a blessing though because it gives stability. And then then I go and I sit down at my seat, and and then I'm next to, I got Zach Wheeler right here and Dennis Sear right here, and then I got Ced on the other side. So I'm sitting with veterans, you know what I mean, which is a blessing, because it's good to be around people who have been there before, because there's little things like the technology, like, okay, this is working, it's little things like that, like making sure the technology, getting your groove. It's like double dutch, when to jump in on a conversation, you know what I mean? And one thing with me though is I just try to be calculated with my thoughts. Don't talk just to be talking. Sometimes You give a valid point, great. Sometimes you just let the vote do the talking, and that's fine as well too. So I really learned my groove, and when to, all right, you know what, this has already been said 3 times. I'm gonna just fall back now. I would like to make a motion, keep it moving. You know what I mean? And then you got to get used to, these are always filmed. You know what I mean? So you can go viral for the wrong reasons if you're not careful. You know what I'm saying, bro? So you gotta be careful in that space because they are, the news is always there, the Journal Star is always there, and so you just have to always know, you know what I mean, that in that space it's public. It's public, but and I remember the second meeting, because the first meeting was like, real chill. And the second meeting was like, we was voting on like something real. We was voting on the combined stormwater overflow, like payment situations, So, I mean, that's the combined stormwater overflow is going to be a 19-year project, $109 million. Like, I'm like, wow, we're voting on this tonight. Like, whoa, this is getting real. But I remember just sitting in my chair, and I'm looking at the mural, I'm looking up at past mayors, I'm looking up at the little artifacts in the city hall. And at one moment I was like, and this is during the meeting, I kid you not, but I was just like, dang, we really made it. We really made it.
I'm proud of you.
I appreciate it.
If ain't nobody else said it outside of your family.
Yeah.
I'm proud to see this.
I appreciate it, man. And the thing about it is I'm not, trying to sound green about it, but it was just like, wow, we're really here. Like, we're really here. And then it just was like, all right, it's go time. Let's go time. Now we got to put the work in.
So it didn't take you long to lace them up? No.
Because I knew that I have to perform well. Because, it's Black History Month, but we've got to work twice as hard to get half. And a lot of times our success or failure is often not isolated. And when I say that, if I fail, someone else that looks like me might not get the same opportunity because now my failure has spread over people that look like me. Versus sometimes with our counterparts, especially our Caucasian counterparts, they could fail and that was just an isolated failure. This is different. You know what I mean? Somebody else could come in and get another opportunity. And so I know that I have to lace them up. It's very important. And then I'm blessed to come in, under Mayor Ali. That's a blessing when you have someone who you respect, you admire, and also, my success is her success and vice versa. You know what I mean? So that's a blessing as well too, to come in that space. And I think overall we just have a good energy among us around the council. Do we agree on everything? No. But I could call everybody and talk to them. And by the end of the phone call, it's like, hey, I'm gonna let you know, just be honest with you, I won't be supporting that, or I will be supporting that. And it's like, hey, because at the end of the day, no one likes to be blindsided. You know what I mean? So just like, hey, because sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. There's been votes where I was the only red dot. You know what I mean? I mean, it happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
there's nothing wrong with
there's
that.
nothing wrong with that. So, you got to stand firm on what you believe in this space.
So, what piece of advice could you give someone who looks like you with your background? What advice would you give them, regardless of the space they're going into? What would you say to a younger Andre who's thinking about doing something bigger than what they're already doing?
Believe in yourself, because oftentimes, depending on how big your dream is, those around you may not see it for you. And so you have to believe in yourself because no one else may believe in that. So definitely believe in yourself. Take advantage of your flexibility. So I always tell young people, enjoy being flexible, because there's going to get to a point in your life where you're not going to have the flexibility. You know what I mean? I tell people right now, if Jeff Bezos called you today and said, hey, I'm going to pay you $250,000, but I need you to move to Alaska, do you have the flexibility to do that? You or I, we got to think about spouses, kids. Do I got to sell my house? It's like there's so many different variables.
Yeah.
So
disinvestment.
Yeah. So I tell young people all the time, take advantage of your flexibility and don't do things to jeopardize that. Don't get in trouble. You know, possibly avoid having children too early. Further your education, and that's not necessarily a traditional college degree because college is not for everybody, but you're going to need some type of post-secondary credential, trade, cosmetology license, barber license, real estate license. There's so many different things, but you're going to need something because you're going to need options. You know what I mean? And so that's so very important. Remain humble. You got to remain humble because you're going to need to do a lot of listening. God gave you 2 ears for a reason. So you're going to need to be listening, find mentors, and it might be people who are in the spaces that you desire to be in, or it might just be someone that maybe is your peer, but they give you good advice. You know what I mean? Because you can't keep talking to yourself and you can't keep talking to people that tell you what you want to hear. You know what I mean? I think that's so important. Don't be afraid of the no, because that no gonna come. That no gonna come. And if you let that no beat you up, you'll never accomplish your goals. You'll never accomplish your dreams. So don't let that no beat you up. You have to take that no, put it on a sandwich and eat it and say, okay, all right, it was no this time, but what have I learned? And then I got to just keep going. I just got to keep going. I think that's so important. So you got to be ready because, people that look like us, we come from so much adversity. You know what I mean? Whether it's, we might not have the economic background to be successful. We might not have the resources. And so we're going to have to put in that work. You know what I mean? And then lastly, you got to grind. You got to grind. And because if it was easy, everybody would be successful. If it was easy, everybody would be successful.
You're joking.
Everybody would be successful.
Wow, success was never handed to anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some people were given the golden spoon, but a lot didn't keep them.
A lot didn't keep them.
Right?
A lot didn't keep them. So you gotta grind. You gotta get there early. You gotta stay late. You gotta be on time. You gotta keep your word. Don't burn bridges.
Ooh.
You might have to walk back across it one day, especially in a city like Peoria.
Rewind here for a second. I'm glad we're able to edit. Peoria. If it plays in Peoria, it will play anywhere.
That's the saying.
It's not just marketing.
Yeah.
It's actual psychology.
It's real.
And it pays dividends to companies and organizations outside of the city on a daily basis because for that phrase, there is activity behind it.
Yeah.
We are still the nation's test market.
Yeah.
For everything.
Yeah.
Our politics transcends national politics.
It's a reason why every governor as a candidate stops in Peoria. It's a reason why we've had multiple presidents stop in Peoria. So, come on now.
Because we have all of these silos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You have this nationality plus their multiple religions.
Yeah.
You have this nationality plus all of their societal divisions. And so on and so forth. And then you break it down by neighborhoods and districts.
Yeah.
And then you break it down by schools. How do you get a crowd in a city this small with that many different groups?
I mean, it's just the makeup. I mean, being 2 hours of, you gotta think about where we're located. So we're 2 hours from St. Louis, 2 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Indy, 3 hours from Milwaukee. You know what I mean? The cost of living brings so many different people around. Caterpillar, headquarters was here. Now you have all these different things, and it's just you got the med school that's bringing in international students and students from all over. I mean, you got Bradley University bringing people everything. So I mean, we just have the ingredients to be almost this melting pot, if you will. And one thing about Peoria is we are our toughest critics.
The toughest crowd in the world.
When people come to Peoria, my mother-in-law, Chicago through and through, lives in Hyde Park, getting ready to retire from the post office. She's talking about moving to Peoria. And now my wife might not like that, but she's talking about moving to Peoria because she says she likes it when she comes here.
Mhm.
But some of us are tough on Peoria, which I understand. Everybody's experience is different. You know what I mean? And I was blessed and fortunate where I went away. And then that allowed me to find myself. That allowed me to grow. That allowed me to, then when I came back to Peoria, I was able to further my career. I was gainfully employed. And so my experience is different. So I'm speaking from, a lens of privilege, you know what I mean? Because I went off to school and came back. And so I know that wasn't everybody's reality.
Right.
And I respect everybody's purview on that. But there's more good things going on in Peoria than bad.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
I get to witness it on a regular basis.
You get to witness
right?
it. Yeah.
Because, you come outside.
Yeah.
And I get out of the neighborhood.
It's a very giving community.
Yeah.
It's a very giving community.
Indeed.
Does it have its problems? Yes. But again, we have more good things happening in Peoria than bad. And we just got to keep that hope alive.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So here's the part where I leave the scene. Is there anything else that you would like to add personally to your crowd?
First off, appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. This is amazing. It's a great platform. Blessed to be able to share my story and hopefully inspire somebody, especially during Black History Month, where, like I said earlier, we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. And my goal is to always inspire, be relatable, be accessible. My best ability is my availability, to not only my constituents within District 4, but within the city of Peoria. I always try to be district focused, but maintain that citywide perspective because I'm in the space to do that because I am a true Peorian and I'm a proud 309er. So, definitely just blessed to be here. Please stay in contact with me. My social media is Andre W. Allen across the board, Facebook, Instagram. And I am on TikTok now, AW Allen 309. So check me out. I'm out here on TikTok. On LinkedIn as well too, Andre Allen MS. So, add me on those platforms, engage with me, keep following the journey. And let's take Peoria to the next level. We're going to get that championship here soon. I guarantee it. And I'm blessed to be able to contribute in any way possible.
So, the last question, right? In your own words, what is Peoria Life?
Peoria Life is Peoria Life. That's a good question. Peoria Life is familiar. It's organic. It's a grind. It can be challenging. It can be pleasant as well. It can be friendly. It can be a little harsh. But there's optimism. There's positivity. There's opportunity. There's growth. There's friendship and